being applied to all of those, I'd have to go each individual channel and I would have had to do that EQ 6 times over, as well as the compression, to achieve the same result. What's up guys, it's Unders, and in today's video, I want to have a look at producing and mixing vocals in Logic Pro.
No deal, I'm Jaws on the beat, I got flow that kills. Do my thing with a few G's, Lauren Hill.
Alright, so today we're going to have a look at producing or working with vocals inside Logic Pro. And I'm going to use a project that you can download, so the link for that will be below as well for you. And I'm specifically using this project because I'm only using Logic plugins. On most of my projects, I will usually use a whole range of other plugins. So once I've produced a vocal and I've got everything crisp and clean and my mix sounds just right, I use the channel sponsor to release all of my music. DistroKid are who I've been using to release for years and years. They get your music out to all of the major streaming platforms, and they manage to do all of that within a budget that really fits and suits indie musician who's looking to get out on those digital platforms. So without any further ado, let's dive into Logic. All right, so like I said before, you can download this whole project if you would like. What we're gonna do though is just focus on the vocals. Now in this particular one, all of the vocal tracks are purple, which, you know, it's a fair amount in here, right? Now, what I would normally do in a finished track, when I'm getting ready to go and put it out and finish up the mix, I would comp all the vocals together. So there's just gonna be like 1-2 channels of them. As this was a project I wanted everyone to download and you'd be able to work off and do your own thing, they're all left like this, Logic base. So let's just play this section here.
Something you could show.
All right, so let's have a look at what's going on there, shall we? So first off, we can see there is a whole bunch of channels. Take this little chunkaroo here, you can see that we've got 3 tracks and we've got another 3 layers below it. All right, so we've got our main center vocal, we've got 2 other vocals that go with it, and then 3 layers of ad-libs. That's a lot of vocals. The way that I look at putting all this together is relatively simple. Now you can see there's minimal effects going on here, right? A lot of things go onto sends, and I personally put everything over to a bus, and I tend to work from the bus. I work backwards in that respect. I'll send things to the bus, get the levels, and if I get the bus sounding great, awesome. If something needs tweaking, I'll then go back to the main channels. So the bus is just here, vocal bus. We can see on it, we've got a compressor and EQ. Nothing special at all, really. The EQ side of things is basically corrective. If we play back, say, just the main vocal, which is that one, I think.
So tell me, I need to know.
Okay, hopefully you can really get an impression of what's going on there, especially this big old dip here. You know, I've done this nice wide lifting boost and then cut a load away. It needed all that lift, but like sort of 10K, maybe even 11K? Yeah, 10.5, right in between. Was just coming up way too much. So like, let's take that out and listen to now. The boost is way too harsh.
So tell me.
Really get that. Now we could use a de-esser to control that, but in this case, the EQ just brought it out the whole time. It always needed to be out. That would be something to do with the microphone that has been used to record it. So we call that corrective EQ. We're just correcting a recording problem. Creative EQ would be, you know, some crazy boosts and zigzaggy things. It's just corrective in that respect. So I've done a nice lift to overcome inertia, narrowed that away just to correct that harshness that came through in that particular recording. Done a similar thing at 3K as well. So we've got this nice big lift and then I've controlled it all. And then just rolled off the low end, okay? Now, we're listening to one particular track here. Remember, she's recorded multiple layers now with that same microphone. So all these things are stacking together, which is why I work from the bus backwards. Otherwise, I'd be EQing the same bit 10 times, 6 times over.
So tell me, I need to know.
So for example, let's take this same dip off with now everything layered up.
So tell me.
It's just way too harsh. Do it again.
So tell me,
Let's just loop that so we can really hear what's going on while we're doing that.
so tell me, so tell me, so tell me.
So we've lifted the whole vocal up, sounds nice, that just gives us some control. What about if we take the whole boost away?
So tell me, so tell me, so tell me.
I think we only need to hear it once. It gives us loads of extra clarity. Hope you can hear that, right? That's it. So we're doing that on the bus. Everything combined together. We're also doing a little bit of compression just to control the dynamics. Now in this instance, I've done compressor first, EQ second. There is no hard and fast rule. Do what's right for your track. The reason it works well in here, we're compressing first and then we're giving it all the lift. If I did the compressor first and then didn't need the lift, that'd be great. If I did the lift and then compressed it, well, I'd probably be compressing all of that lift I just gave it and I might have to give it more. Equally, adding the compressor in might then squish it and I've done too much lift and the compression, we're going to lose the vocal in other areas. You've got to top and tail them and do what's right. There's a reason on the old school SSL desks you can switch it with a single button, the order of that EQ and compression. There is no hard and fast rule on what order to do it in. So in this instance, this worked best, and it's just pretty subtle compression with everything in.
So tell me, so tell me.
So just under 5 dB in total. Even if we go to a part where all of the ad-libs are in, like here.
No. Who are we?
Barely tickling 4 dB. I've also got auto gain off and I'm actually only giving it 1.5 back. That's just what was needed in the track. So once I've done that and I've got the bus sounding okay and I'm happy with it, now I'm going to go back to the individual channels and do anything that might need to happen. Something that really obvious you should be able to hear is the main vocal. So this one, we've got the most things on it. It's got the most effects on it, simply as well. And I've got tape delay directly on the channel, right?
No, no, no.
The feedback is currently set to 0. The reason for that is I've used an effect later just to help things move forward with the track. I've automated that effect. So just here, for example, I've used some control with that feedback just to help it move along. Use the main vocal to add to the rhythm of the track. You know, something that's not recorded, we've added it in. We've been creative with the mixing process. So that's this.
Can't see your view.
That just gives us this nice like transition period in the track. Let's listen to it in context. So over that same section, we can hear what it's doing.
See your
So you can just hear it kind of goes ho, 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 rolling on in the background, nicely in the mix there. It's just a nice little touch that you can do. If you don't know how to automate something like that, I'll throw a link in the description for an automation tutorial in Logic for you. Okay, so the next thing on the main part of the vocal here, and it's 2 ad-libs. I've made the decision that even though we took that 10K out, there was still too much on some of those S phrases that was popping through. So I've done extra de-essing, all right? So the second one down on the main one and the only in effect on the other 2 are in fact de-essers. And we're lower down, that sort of 10K, that whoosh that used to come up, that's been negated with the EQ. I found in these though, we needed to take it a little bit lower. What are we? So 6.5K, somewhere around there. There was just another effect coming in, but the other ad-libs weren't suffering. So I've only done it on those, right? So very simply,
see your view.
you can just see it getting out there.
So tell me, I need to know.
So just that extra little bit of control in there, even though bass was already sounding okay.
Who are we?
only on the main vocal. We've also got an EQ, another little roll off just because we were getting too much low end come through. It could be something really simple as well, like your singer standing slightly too close, roll that low end away. It can just sometimes be in there for whatever reason. It's all kinds of things that happen. And I don't have the budget to record things 400 times, unfortunately. Maybe one day. So that's as simple as it is so far. So working on the bus, get the bus right, just EQ and compression, then going back to the tracks, seeing what else they might need. And so far, we're literally a little bit of de-essing, tape delay as an effect, and a tiny bit of EQ. Now, something else you should note is this goes to bus 2, and bus 2 has its own reverb. And obviously we've got reverb on this vocal overall. I'll do vocal reverb like this on ascend pretty much always. You can control it just so much better rather than putting it directly on the track. I would usually do the same for the tape delay as well, but having it on that main one just made it easier for automation, and when it's off, simple as that. I will usually only reverb the main vocal and then ad-libs and things separately as well. If you go and send everything to it, it just tends to get washed out way too quickly. And you know, we've got these other layers here.
Is this something you could show?
Yeah, they're hard pan left and right, but they're giving us a nice center field. And when it all comes together with the reverb, it's just not needed.
All my thoughts in my mind. So tell me.
If we were to send all of them, it would always be overwhelming. And then when the reverb goes away, we've got those dry hums and things that just help it move on a little bit nicer and give a kind of nice contrast as well. Got a big whoosh, sweeping reverb and then some dryness. I just like that side of it. And you're not dealing with excessive reverb frequencies. And you know, in context of the track, when everything's playing, you don't really notice all that reverb disappearing. You just get the context of the vocal.
So tell me. I need to know.
Okay, so let's have a look at the other little bits we did here. So audio 18 is a very simple little chop just here. Oh yeah, it just hit. And all this is just a little chop of the vocals to layer up with something else with excessive reverb on. As you can see, the only thing on this channel is reverb. I'm using it as an extra ad-lib to really accent certain things in the intro. So here it is in context.
Oh, you left me.
Hopefully you heard what was going on there. I'm using it as ad-libs, but it's almost like a delay reverb effect. So like they speak, you hear the word and you get a delay, it's only the reverb side of it. Just an effect that we're using and playing with to add a little bit of space and interest. And then we can look at the ad-libs just here. We'll take this little chunk off 3. And as we can see on here, like pretty minimal effects, but we've had to dive into some pitch correction here. And you know, it was just simply what was needed, especially on the highs here.
So tell me. I need to know.
And yeah, it's very musical. It's very like melody-ish. Yeah, I'm going with melody-ish. So that's the reason there that it's got the pitch correction on it. If you don't know how to use the pitch correction, I did a tutorial on that recently. We can just show you how to get that set up. But it just needed that extra bit of tuning to get that harmonization going properly. It was just a little bit off in the overall track. If we turn the pitch correction off on the 2 I've done it in, it's mostly there, but it is a little bit more digital, admittedly, but better. And especially once it's in context with the track. All the ad-libs saturated with reverb, they're all sent to bus 2. And I feel it's important, we should probably have a look at bus 2 in case I've done anything fancy on it. And no, it is literally Chromaverb set up as so on the room, just with a dip on the highs. Got all the main body of the vocal coming through and dips in the mids and low. Nothing fancy at all with that. And can you believe that's it? So when you really look at vocals and you deep dive into it, that's all the effects I'm using on here. I had a good vocal to start out with, but Here's my big thing, working on the bus first. If the bus sounds right and you've balanced that nicely, you don't need to do too much. A little bit of EQ, touching up those major issues, then go back to the individual parts and see if there's anything huge that needs doing. So a lot less work to do it that way. If you think about the EQ that I had to do on the main channel that's being applied to all of those, I'd have to go each individual channel and I would have had to do that EQ 6 times over, as well as the compression, to achieve the same result. Just massively reduced the workload for you there. I hope that's been helpful for you guys, a little insight. If the project sounds like something you might want to work on, you can download that below. And any questions, as always, throw them in the comments. I look forward to seeing you on the next one.